Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. This is Sister Lil, and I'm just coming before you for a few minutes to talk about women, especially the Black women, foundational Black American women who were descendants of the transatlantic slaves. Um, this is a month that's set aside to celebrate women, and I just want to say, looking at what Yahuwah said a woman's role is and what we are doing now, a lot of us have gotten way, way, way off script. First of all, Yahuwah created Adam, and he created Eve to be his helpmate, his assistant. But things never went quite that way with us as foundational Black Americans, because during the slave time, women were put above men. Apparently, we can see the reason for that. Satan did not want Yahuwah's order to go in plan. He made man to be the leader. But what the slaves did, the little bit of freedom that they would give, they gave it to the woman in the house so she would be over the man. They put the man down. And in so many ways, I truly believe the anger and especially the hate for each other started back then. It is no secret, it seems like to me now, even the way I see people spouting off on YouTube. A lot of Black men hate Black women, or they have no respect for them. A lot of Black women hate Black men, and we need to get over that. We need to get delivered. First of all, what happened to you, to our ancestors, we have no control over that. There's nothing we can do about that. But we need to start from where we are now and look at the creation roles that Yahuwah put in place. I am all for women getting an education 1000%. I believe that each person should develop his or her skills to the best of their ability according to what Yahuwah has given us. And if you're not a person who wants to go to college, you should have some kind of a skill. But what I'm seeing now, and I was just talking to a very good friend of mine yesterday about this, it looks like now we have so many Black women with degrees, no husbands, and they're getting to be almost 40 before they can even get a husband. By the time they get a husband, maybe they're squeezing out one child, maybe a second child. And what it has done, it has reduced our nation. We don't have a lot of Black people that are procreating now the right way. We do have people who are having illegitimate babies, and we do have people, teenagers, who are procreating and are mentally ill. But the people that are so-called stable people, people who are able to provide financially, socially, and psychologically for a family, don't seem to be having children. And if they do, it's one or maybe two. Again, Satan is using that to decrease our nation. And when you stop and you look at the way that it has been down through the years, first of all, I take my hat off to a lot of the foundational Black women who have suffered violence in their homes and they were told to stay there by the preacher, or they were afraid to leave. Their parents wanted them to do just tiptoe on eggshells so you can stay there because you've got these children. You don't want to get out here on your own, which is hard. And a lot of the older people who had values in those days, they were afraid that the daughter would end up in fornication and have a baby out of wedlock and ruin their name. So they didn't want their name to bear shame. So we have gotten ourselves in a fix now where women became very angry. And there's a lot of women who train their daughters. And we can't say we blame them, but we can say it isn't correct and it's against God's order to put their career first. And you don't know if you do get a husband, he might leave you, he might be abusive. And if you do get something that happened to him. So now I'll look at it from this point of view. Everyone should know how to take care of themselves independently, because even if you get a good man who will adore you, who will celebrate you, who will protect and provide for you, something could happen to his health. He could die prematurely. And even if he didn't, if he's that kind of a man, he's going to want a developed woman who can walk right by his side and be able to be equal with him emotionally and psychologically. So, yes, you do need to get an education, but you don't need to get so caught up on if it comes down to it, get you some condoms or get birth control pills and just do what you got to do. By the time you do find somebody to marry you, you have been used, you've been passed from man to man, you have no respect. And we're talking about the women who call themselves Jesus followers. We're not talking about the world. This does not include the world. Now you're in a fix. You're full of fibroids. You've taken these pills. They have propagated the fibroids that were in you probably to begin with. And now you don't even know if you're going to be able to even carry a child. You see, we need to stop. We need to train our girls and our boys to save themselves from marriage. That is God, Yahuwah's command. We don't need to be committing fornication. We don't need to figure out how we can outdo nature. We need to settle down. From the time your children are small, we need to teach them the proper way to manage their bodies and what the Bible said about their bodies. And if you have girls and boys, you should pray for them to find their mate when they're small children. Ask Father to protect their mate, to keep her pure or him pure for them, and for them to go in as one union. But now we've got all this other stuff going on. Women now believing that they can do everything a man can do. I just was appalled when I heard women were fighting to go back to combat. Who in the world wants to? Of course, everybody's different and they have a right to their rights to believe what they want to believe. But I couldn't imagine why you would want to fight to go on combat. So we think we can do everything. I mean, there is a sect of women that call themselves liberals or liberated women who say that they only need a man for the sperm. And they don't take into consideration how dysfunctional a child can grow up with only one parent. Even one good parent, there is a deficit. It does not mean the child's going to be mentally ill. They're going to have some behavior disorder. But Father made it for feminine and masculine energy to be in that home. And both parents should be available for that child. Mom is the softer side, dad is the harder side. They come together and they balance each other out. We cannot outdo Yahuwah. Yahuwah's will is his will, it is his way. And we must bring ourselves down, kill ourselves to our own flesh, and do it his way. If you had more girls who were living holy and pure, there would be nobody for the men in the church to fornicate with. More women who carried themselves the way Yahuwah has told us to carry ourselves. The old deacons that want to get around and play behind their wives' backs would be nobody in the church for them to play with. They would have to go outside to do that. So what I'm saying today, I know a lot of foundational black women have been through hell. Some of them sat in church and they knew their husbands had a girlfriend right in church and was having babies by her, and they put up with it. So I say to you today, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that you had to hurt like that. I'm sorry that you were married to someone who did not have the ability to recognize what a father and a husband should be. But I am also saying, those of you who have taught your daughters to hate men or to feel like they don't need a man, you need to repent if you're born again. You need to repent and ask Father to forgive you and change your tune and say to them, I'm praying for you to meet a man that Father will prepare for you, that will be your protector and will be your provider. And he will be the kind of a man that you feel like you can lead, because you have no business marrying a man that you don't think you would trust him to lead you. And I do know Father Yahuwah can do a work in your life. He did a work in my life, because that was at one time when I literally hated black men. And it's a shame for me to have to sit here and say it, but it is the truth. I hated them. I would see them on the bus and it just any kind of negative behavior, it just did something to me. But ask me if you don't when you get down on your knees and you humble yourself and you get before the Father, he will deliver you. I have since repented of my anger, my hate, and Father has delivered me. And I thank Him for keeping me during those hard years when things were not good for me. But I had to come to the realization, instead of hating the man, I needed to understand I was disobedient. I married out of his will. I did what I wanted to do. I was not interested in who he had prepared for me. I did what I wanted to do. So I need to repent for that. And then I need to get on about my way, loving and not hating. And another thing I'll say, if a black man and a black woman learn to love each other and come together, that is nothing you cannot conquer. Because if you have been born again, and people who know us know that we are very loving and kind people. Now, we can be very mean and vindictive too. I'm not trying to say every foundation of Black American is all of that. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is something about us that we have a heart just like our Father's heart when we allow it to come through. So I celebrate the women who have husbands who love them, who know how to provide for them, who know how to take care of them, and who know how to celebrate them. And it is my desire for the young women who are coming up today, who are calling yourselves Yahushua followers or Yahushua or followers of, as the world would say, of Jesus Christ, then um, I'm going to ask you, no matter how far you've gone, get on your knees and repent and ask Father to forgive you and show you the right way. If you've had babies out of wedlock, He will forgive you. If you're in fornication, get out. Repent, turn away from it. He will forgive you. But whatever, we need to turn this thing around. We need to turn the hate around and turn it into love. And one other thing I would like to say for the men who feel like they have been castrated by the overpowering black women, don't let that stop you from being a man. Being a man does not mean you have to hoop and holler and be violent towards your family, but being a man means that you take a stand, particularly if you're born again. You take a stand and do what Yahuwah said do, and He will protect you. On this day, I say to all of my mothers and all of my black women who are struggling, turn your life over to Yahuwah and ask Him to direct your path, and He will. To all of you who are in a place where you consider, you're not out of line with Yahuwah, you're doing okay, ask Him to help you to grow more. And most of all, we need to teach our boys and girls to grow up to want families and how to be loving husbands and wives. One thing my friend that I talked to yesterday said, her mother started teaching her how to be a wife when she was a girl. They would cook in the kitchen together, and her mother would tell her things about, never deny your husband food, even if you're angry with him, cook him your best. And she always taught her how to be a wife. And most of us have not been taught how to be wives. We just picked up bits and pieces here and there. We were never taught how to be the men were never taught how to be a husband. You just picked up bits and pieces here and there. But I say to you today, Yahuwah will show you the way if you want to learn and follow His Son, Yahushua. So Yahuwah's blessings be upon you and keep you and seal you with His love. Sister Leah.